am a social worker here. I work at the University of South Carolina in the School of Public Health. And I originally moved here almost 10 years ago this summer, to get my master's in social work from USC. And then kind of had every intention of leaving, moving out west after those 2 years, and then really felt drawn to staying in Columbia. So have been here ever since then. It's my home. You know, I have great love and respect for where I grew up in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, but in terms of where I really consider my home to be at this point, it's definitely Columbia. I feel like this is where I really became an adult in some ways, and became my own person and understood what kind of how the world functions and all of that. And I love Columbia and how you know, it's different than growing up in the country. So it was like this big city to me when I moved here. And then eventually realized like it's not big at all. But that's one of the things that I love about it, is being able to go to the coffee shop, run into people, always feel like there's support here. I don't know quite how to answer that question. That's obviously the only thing I've ever known, is being a woman, but I have, you know, I love that. I certainly have never wanted to be anything else in terms of, I've always been surrounded by really strong women. So I've always thought about being a woman as just a really spectacular thing, and a really powerful thing. So for the past 6 years, I've been working here doing things around child hunger and food access, and trying to cultivate more of a stronger local and regional food system. And one of the programs that I've been involved in is FoodShare South Carolina, which is a program that is trying to make sure that everybody has, you know, access to healthy food and able to get that food in a very dignified way. And so I remember, in terms of success, like how I knew that program was successful, and then which I think is just the best way for me to illustrate what I consider to be success, is, you know, the program had been going for probably about 6 months at that point. We're almost to our 2-year anniversary. And I was just, you know, out in the community one day, and people were talking to me about, oh, have you heard of FoodShare? And so excited about it. And the fact that people, you know, being a co-founder of that organization, and the fact that the people in the community didn't even know I had anything to do with it, that to me is success. Of that, you know, of course I am honored to be a part of this process, and for the work that I've been involved in to be recognized, and my commitment and leadership in that. That's fantastic. But I think in terms of thinking about, you know, what I try to think about, at least, and I'm not always successful with this, but, you know, that success is that the things that I've been involved in, and that I've had the privilege of getting started here, or elevating as an issue here, that regardless of whether I'm here or not, that those things would continue. And I think sometimes it's a challenge within our organizations and our programs that people know them, certainly still for their mission. It's not that it's not about their mission as well, but they also really know them for, you know, a certain individual, which I think is great in some ways, but it concerns me in other ways of, well, what happens when that person's not there?
Exactly. Leaving the legacy.
Yeah, and though, you know, my interest in especially food access work is really building the leadership and the capacity of communities to create whatever vision they think is right for them and what they want, and to have the capacity to implement that vision. So that, you know, it's never about kind of being there for the long haul. It's about doing the capacity building work. Yeah, certainly my mom. But I mean, I saw these questions at a time, and there's just no way for me to identify one woman. Like I said earlier, I think I've been really fortunate in a lot of ways to grow up surrounded by women. In terms of my mom's side of the family that we were really close to and around a lot. My uncle died before I was born. My grandfather died when I was 18. My dad died the first year that I moved here. And then it's women.
Right.
I have 2 older sisters and my mom. And they've always been encouraging, and they're always so proud of me and always lift me up. And then being here and being in social work, of course, that's a profession dominated by women. My workplace is more women than men. So there's just been a lot of women in my personal and professional life who, just always have, just made it. Yeah, I think like in terms of what this is all about and women getting recognition for what they're doing, that's fantastic. And I definitely think that doesn't happen a lot like in the public light necessarily. Right. But in terms of my experience, I never take it for granted the fact that I have so many women who are in my court and who always, are complimentary. And I hope so.
It's a hard one.
I would hope I would be. Yeah. Especially social work is really, it was the perfect profession. I didn't go into social work really even understanding what it was. And developing an understanding of that, I really think it's the greatest profession that exists.
Right.
And especially then within that profession, most of my classes that I teach are predominantly women. And so even this week, one of my classes, we were talking about assertiveness, and that's what the whole class was about the need for people to be assertive. And of course there was conversation about how men tend to be more assertive than women, and kind of thinking about why that is. And so one thing that we talked about was pay of social workers and how important it is to be an advocate for that. And I think and across the board, not that it's even about social work, but women, of course, are, we know are less likely to negotiate for more money and everything. So that's one example of like really what I try to encourage other females, especially I end up getting the opportunity to, through the classes I teach or through having interns, most of the time, like I said, those are females. So trying to especially help them in the realm of trying to be working on assertiveness and confidence. I hope that I have been effective.